Hi everyone, welcome to this month's Flash Fiction. June has been a very exciting month because the White Hand launched, followed by a convention, which was the Calgary HorrorCon. And it was awesome to see everyone at the VIP launch, the book launch at Audrey's, and then down at Calgary. It was quite the success and really glad to have shared it with everyone. Because June was so busy, that is why the Flash Fiction is a little behind, but it gave me a little more time to ponder over it, think about what would make a good creepy story. And this one is very much a paranoia or paranormal, horror, psychological, all those fun things. And it is called Behind You. So let's jump into it and see what this story is all about. I used to enjoy life. Outside has so many wonders to see. The world is much larger than most people give it credit for. Sure, the internet has drastically made things smaller by connecting people around the globe. The Earth itself, however, is astronomical in size. Anyways, exploring outside is something all of us do as a kid. I know I did. Not so much now. My mom and dad wouldn't let me go too far. They always said the streets were dangerous. I didn't understand why. It looked like a pretty safe neighborhood from what I saw inside of my home. Perhaps I wasn't visible from the window, being a small child, peeking out into the dangers. Now, I understand why Mom would get so mad at me if I stared outside for too long, or if I wandered too far from them without supervision. Mom said there were ugly people in the world. She said there were horrors out there. I believe her now. There's a certain level of bliss that you have when being a kid. The innocence of a child overlooks all of the terrible things that are in the shadows, in the cracks, or those that are peeking around the corner. What's that cliche again? Oh yes, the devil is in the details. Over the years, Mom and Dad were growing tired. Maybe they let their guard down, or maybe they decided that there was no point in fighting the inevitable, the impending doom. They are always watching. You might not know exactly who they are, but I guarantee they aren't far behind. You know that feeling of someone watching you? It's them. Whether you're home alone, or on the sidewalk, or in the grocery store, it doesn't matter. They are there. They always are. It's the reason for that tingling feeling on your back. Your hearing amplifies. It picks up the most subtle of details. Then, when you turn to look, you see nothing. I've dubbed them the lightless ones. We'll get into that definition. Most of us just write these experiences off as if there's nothing there. Easy to do. Just say it's your own paranoid delusions that are confusing you. We're all a little crazy, some more than others. I sometimes wonder if I'm the craziest of them all. The lightless ones started watching me from a young age. I know that much. I don't exactly know what they want, even to this day. After a couple decades on, I'm not the only one aware of them. Conspiracy theorists, crack monkeys, delusional fools, pick your title, they know about the lightless ones. They are all willing to admit there is something more to the feeling, the sensation of something being near. The lightless ones are behind you. I know it. You know it now. It all started when I was in my senior year of high school. I took the same path as I always did across the football field to the bus stop. In that field, I saw a man walking on the outside of the fence of the school property. It was at the corner of my eye. For I knew it could have been a strand of my long hair that got in my face. It was windy out. That's what I thought the being was. Yet, it seemed to walk with me. The closer I got to the edge of the school property, it was still there. I could easily distinguish limbs and a walking motion. Yet, this man was as black as my hair, hence the name Lightless Ones. I stopped. I looked directly at the man, but they vanished. It was as if they were never there. I spun around a couple of times, trying to see where they were. I couldn't find them. It was weird, but I made the conclusion that it was just in my head playing tricks on me. The wind hair theory only lasted a week. More subtle signs started showing up in the classroom. I could see someone watching from the window of the closed door that led into the hallway. Just like in the field, I could see them at the corner of my eye. When I looked, the person was gone. Apparently I was daydreaming, as my math teacher put it. He said I should focus more on my grades. I truly tried. The lightless ones kept distracting me. I don't think their goal was to have me fail high school, because I eventually graduated. I didn't have any remarkable scores, though. Oh well. Dad was the first to die. It was from a heart attack. None of the neighbors seemed to care too much when my mom was wailing in pain at the discovery of her husband on the kitchen floor. Poor Mom. We had a funeral. A few relatives came by, but that was it. A lot of people began to distance themselves from us as I got older. I didn't have a lot of friends in high school. There was Scratchy Jim and Hot Jane. I did have a thing for Hot Jane. I don't think she really knew. She always liked the pretty boys. My acne-infused face probably wasn't much of a turn-on for her anyways. Scratchy Jim and Hot Jane tried to cheer me up and keep me distracted from the death of my father. It worked for a while, until my mom took her own life. I'll always remember the silhouette of my mom hanging from the ceiling in the garage. That silhouette, a human shape, all black, just like the lifeless ones, always at the corner of your eye. She had left a suicide note. It talked about them, the lightless ones, the silhouettes. The whole letter was about 5.5 pages long. Most of her words seemed like ramblings, probably because of the empty bottle of Jameson's on the floor beside her hanging body. I still have the last note that she gave me. She mentioned that she saw them all the time. It was why she wanted to keep me safe indoors. That explained the homeschooling. My dad convinced her to let me go to high school. He believed it was good for me to interact with other kids. Mom was too scared, and now I know why. In the note, Mom mentioned that the lightless one spooked my father, causing the heart attack. My mom was tired and had given up. She apologized greatly in the note and said how much she loved me. Yeah, she loved me so much to leave me on my own. My parents' death were only a couple months apart. This was the year after high school. I inherited the house and all of their possessions. Technically, I was an adult now, so I was on my own. I had considered post-secondary education, but was too depressed after their deaths. I continued to work at the grocery store down the road. I took the same route as I did 5 days a week, passing through the neighborhood, the bar, and the apartment complex. Mom and Dad were gone. I had a home. High school was over. That's when I started to see the lightless ones more frequently. That tingling sensation. I swear my ears twitched any time a rattling occurred. I can't even make them move. They did that all on their own. I would frantically spin around, trying to see where the sound came from. Sometimes, I'd see one of the lightless ones. As always, from the corner of my eye. People would watch me, thinking I was crazy. At first, I felt ashamed, until I realized that they weren't just any people. These people were familiars of the lightless ones. Or maybe they weren't and just wanted to watch a delusional freak spaz out. Either way, all eyes were on me, especially when I was shouting at the lightless ones to stop following. I tried to tell Scratchy Jim and Hot Jane. Scratchy Jim was a little more open to hearing my story. He'd say he was there for me in that typical raspy voice of his. Hot Jane was not so accommodating. She had a stud for her boyfriend and was accepted into post-secondary education in the next province over. My confessions of seeing the lightless ones was the last time I physically saw Hot Jane. I miss those freckles. She moved with her boyfriend and started her new life. She had no reason to keep Scratchy Jim or myself around. Despite the internet making the world really small, Hot Jane had vanished entirely. The world is a big place. It can still disappear. It makes me wonder if she felt sorry for me in high school and was never really my friend. Scratchy Jim stayed around, at least for a while. He was one of those guys that like to experiment with drugs of all kinds. It started with snorting of prescription pills, some weed, speeds, and eventually down the smack road. That's when he began to distance himself. He would hang around those heroin dens. I tried to visit him, but he wasn't exactly there. My last visit, I saw him and I spotted a lightless one in the den, and I freaked out. I haven't seen him since. Sorry, Scratchy Jim. With Hot Jane and Scratchy Jim chasing the golden dragon. I didn't have a lot of other people to talk to. I still don't. My coworkers at the grocery store were either old people or they didn't speak English. A lot of the other kids from high school had now graduated post-secondary education or moved away. They wouldn't want to hang out with someone like me. My walks to and from work became more stressful. The lightless ones weren't just around the corner of my eye anymore. I could see them, walking right past me. They showed up more often late at night. On my walk home, I'd think it was a person in the dark until I got close enough to see them and realized that light didn't cast on their forms. They were pitch black. I would try to walk on the other side of the street as they continued to move towards me. Eventually, I'd pass them. It worked a couple of times, and I began to wonder if they were simply ghosts or something coexisting in our world. Then, the lightless ones started to turn around and follow me. They were fast. They'd hit things, causing loud sounds to echo down the street. I would run down the middle of the road, keeping as visible as possible. The lightless ones didn't care. They would chase me until I made it back home. I locked the doors. They waited outside. I kept the lights off so they wouldn't know exactly where I was inside. Home seemed to be the only place that they didn't invade. They could only watch. Eventually, I started to keep my curtains closed all the time. I did this more frequently in the mornings. The lightless ones are easy to spot during the day due to the high contrast of their black forms and the sunlit environment. I could maneuver around them, but they would always appear around corners, trees, or in the windows. Seeing them in the windows confirmed my theory about the familiars. The lightless ones would be beside the humans watching me in the windows. These people worked for them. The familiars were on the streets too. They'd act like they were looking at their phones or newspaper, but I could see their eyes. They were watching, taking notes, and seeing what I was doing next. Some of the familiars would follow me to work and act like they were going to buy something. That wasn't going to work for me. My mom warned me about what they were doing in her note. The familiars wanted to take me to the lightless ones. They wanted to make me one of them, forever enslaved. My manager saw my performance at work start to decline. I'd shout at some of the customers, who were actually familiars, and they filed complaints against me. My manager changed me over to the night shift so I could stock shelves and have less interaction with customers. At least there was the premium pay for night work time. The dark was dangerous. The lightless ones had camouflage. I started carrying a knife around me. I really had no idea if the lightless ones were capable of experiencing physical pain. The worst case I could do is at least attack one of their familiars. My manager started to give me fewer shifts. Every walk home, I would firmly grasp my pocket knife that was tucked inside my hoodie. My heart raced. The lightless ones and their familiars would walk around me. I would shout at them, telling them to stay away from me. I threatened them with my knife. It worked, except for on the walk home, they were more aggressive. From every corner, their black heads peeked out. The windows had the familiars watching me. They were in cars, at the bus stops. They were behind me. I ran as fast as I could down the road. I swear that some of the familiars tried to run me over in their cars. I couldn't help but wonder how long they'd been watching. If the lightless ones were stalking my mom, and she managed to avoid them until her death, did they stalk my grandmother too? Or my grandfather? I had no idea. I just knew I had to run. Eventually, I made it home, struggling to get my keys out of my pocket. I dropped them once. Snagging them, I found the right key to unlock the door. With my hand shaking, I managed to twist it open, pushed the door aside, and stepped inside. I could feel one of them grab hold of my back. I slammed the door shut and locked it. Panting heavily, I collapsed onto the floor as tears began to run down my face. They were everywhere. That's when I decided I couldn't work anymore. I stopped showing up for my shifts. My boss must have been concerned because the police eventually showed up at my doorstep. A part of me wondered if they were familiars too, but they seemed okay. They interviewed me, asking if I was on anything. I wasn't on drugs. I'm not that kind of person. I was stable. I had a good sense of judgment. That's how I noticed the lightless ones. They will drive anyone crazy. The police determined there was nothing wrong with me and decided to leave me alone. Now, I could stay safe. I covered every window with curtains and taped tinfoil to prevent the lightless ones from seeing inside. Rarely do I go outside now. Anytime I take a peek through the glass to the outside world, I see them. I try to take photographs, but they always come out blurry. They must have some sort of electromagnetic field that distorts technology. It makes you wonder, are they aliens? Other dimensional beings? Or am I merely suffering from paranoid delusions? I have no answers. I tried to connect with others on the internet, the world drinking device, to see if anyone else had seen the lightless ones. There are similar stories. Some of these people also believe in Bigfoot. Where else was I going to turn to, though? It's not like anyone else locally saw them. At least I can vent to people on message boards. That is one good thing about the ever-shrinking world. It connects people who are trapped. The lightless ones choose who they show themselves to. They select specific people to be their familiars, and they sure as hell aren't going to convert me. I'll fight to the bitter end. This is where I find myself today, alone. I document as much as I can online. I wonder if the lightless ones are getting smarter, or if my judgment is getting worse. Either way, I have had a difficult time determining who is a familiar and who is not. I stay away from the outside world and people. I don't know who is a familiar. The lightless ones also have been better at camouflaging. I've seen half human and half otherworldly. Hybrids. They are evolving. I question how much longer I can fend them off. As the months go by, I begin to understand why my mom ended her life. It may be the only route of escape if I don't want to be absorbed. This is what I contemplate as I sit on my bathroom floor, writing this note with one sweaty hand and the other holding my pocket knife. And that is June's Flash Fiction. If you enjoyed this story, please share with your friends. We'll be back next month with more Flash Fiction. Also keep watch for events. Recently I've updated them to show where I'm at this summer, and you can grab a copy of The White Hand. Thank you again for listening, and take care.